Happy Friday, everybody. Today's topic, I want to talk about what your thoughts should be prior to even looking for a job when you're coming out of school, when you're coming out of residency, different things to keep in mind. Our suggestion is when you start your job search, you should really wait until your last year of school to start looking for a position. Um, we really suggest you going through your experiences and your rotations and getting the experiences of the cases you really like to do and maybe cases that you prefer not to do. So going through that and knowing ideally what you're looking for when you're coming out of school. As an example, let's just use cardiac as an example. You don't want to sign on to a practice before doing your cardiac rotation, because if you sign on with a practice that has cardiac there and it's mandatory that you do cardiac cases, let's say you go through that rotation and you really don't care to do them. And you don't want to sign on to a practice where you're not comfortable with doing those cases. So, really going through your experiences, getting those cases under your belt, and then deciding really what you want to do. Do you want to work in a level one trauma center? Do you want to work in a community hospital? What size of a hospital do you want to work in? Um, do you want to work for a private practice? Do you want to be a hospital employee? Do you want to maybe work in academics where you can do some teaching of teaching residents and research, or just doing the clinical piece of it? Another thing to consider is, do you want to work in a strong care team model when the anesthesiologists and CRNAs work together to get the job done every day? Or do you want to work in a practice where you're able to do your own cases? Or maybe you want to do a mix of both. The next thing we want to talk about is schedule. What kind of schedule ideally are you looking for when you finish school? Are you looking for something with call? What kind of call do you want to take ideally? Do you want to work post call, or do you want guaranteed post call off? Just knowing the hours and knowing what kind of call schedule you're looking for. Maybe you just want to work daytime hours, or there's certain shifts, based on your own personal situation on what kind of hours you want to work, where and when. Salary and benefits. So with salary and benefits, you have W-2 positions and then you have 1099 positions. Now, a W-2 position is where they pay you a base salary and then they pay you a benefit package on top of that base salary. And then a 1099 position is where they pay you a lump sum and then you're responsible for all the benefits underneath that 1099. So meaning you're responsible for your own malpractice insurance, responsible for your own health insurance. And what you would do is you would set up a corporation. Now, there are certain tax benefits with doing that. So it's really just a personal preference on what you're looking for a salary and benefit package. What kind of salary range are you looking for? Maybe there's a certain salary that you're looking for, a range. What kind of benefits? If you are going to go a W-2 route, how much health insurance, what's health insurance going to cost out of pocket for you when you join a practice? Some cover fully, some pay a percentage, some pay three quarters. It just depends on the practice. How much vacation time? Maybe you're looking for a certain amount of vacation time, 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever the case may be. Tuition reimbursement is another one. What happens is practices will, if you sign on with them for a couple year commitment, they'll give you a certain amount of money for loan forgiveness or tuition reimbursement. So that's another thing to think about. And retirement. Do you want to fund your own retirement under a 1099 position? Or do you want to have a W-2 position where they have a 401k or retirement plan? And then does your employer contribute to that retirement? Is there any kind of contribution? Is there a percentage of your salary that they put into retirement for you, but you can also add more money into it? Another thing I want to talk to you guys about is when you are looking for your first job, you want to set yourself up for the future and also the present. Now, with that being said, non-compete and restrictive covenants. All contracts, most contracts, 90% of contracts have a non-compete or restrictive covenant in their contract. their employee contract. So with that being said, normally a 1099 position, you're an independent contractor, so they can't hold you to a restrictive covenant. Now, in a W-2, where you are an employee of the practice, uh, they put restrictive covenants in there, and it could just depend on the group, on the mileage from a particular site. Now, the one thing I do want to discuss here with the mileage from a particular site, I have seen in the past there are practices that, it could be 15 to 20 miles, and they may have multiple sites in an area. And I've seen doctors or nurse anesthetists sign these types of contracts. And to be quite honest with you, if you're looking to make a move down the road, unless you're looking to make a move, they can truly lock you out from working in an area. So it can be 30 to 45 minutes of a drive. It can be 15. Let's say we'll just use New York as an example. So they can have multiple facilities in Manhattan, and their restrictive covenant could be within 5 to 10 miles of one of their sites. So it really can lock you out of an area. So you really want to think about not only the now of the practice, you want to think about, okay, if and when I do want to make a move to another position, am I going to be able to work in another facility, let's say in Manhattan, that you're going to be able to work at? Or am I going to have to drive outside my non-compete for a year or 2 years to work? So you just don't want to lock yourself out of an area, because at that point you may have a house, you have a family, you got roots and all those things that you really want to consider um, prior to signing the contract. So those are the kind of things I really would like you all to think about when you are looking for your next position. I hope it was very helpful. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I wish you guys the best and be safe.